9. ERIN MCKENZIE. During a run at Riding Mountain National Park in Manitoba, Canada a few years ago, local resident ERIN MCKENZIE crossed paths with a large, angry black bear. She was with her 2 dogs on a trail and had just reached the top of a steep hill when the unexpected and horrifying encounter occurred. Almost immediately, the bear hit MCKENZIE in the face and then clawed her in the back, leaving her injured as it stood on its hind legs. After taking a swipe at her, it slowly backed away, growling. She told local radio station 680 CJOB that both she and the bear seemed spooked by the other, and that neither had expected to come face to face. MCKENZIE also said that the attack happened in just a few seconds, giving her no time to react before the bear nearly knocked her out. Once she knew she was safe, she looked at her injuries using her phone camera and became even more alarmed by the gash profusely bleeding on her face. During the 40-minute walk back to her car, she called her mum and brother, who helped keep her calm. Luckily, the wound was none life-threatening. It left the young woman with a scar, but she was aware of how much worse things could have been, and also said that she wasn't going to let the incident stop her continuing to hike and enjoy the wilderness. 8. DALTON ROACH. 25-year-old DALTON ROACH was hunting from his tree stand in western Wisconsin earlier this year when a curious 300-pound, 136-kilogram black bear began climbing towards him. At first, the creature wasn't acting unusually. In fact, it's not totally uncommon for a bear to go into a tree with a hunter, according to Roach, who spoke with ABC7 Chicago following the frightening encounter. But the bear became aggressive and bit him in the back, which was uncharacteristic behavior. Roach was wounded, but he knew better than to panic. He captured the ordeal on camera as he turned toward the bear and shouted as loudly as possible at it to leave. The creature hung around for another half hour before it finally got bored enough to leave and wandered elsewhere. Roach then made the quarter-mile 0.4 kilometer back to his truck while talking to a friend on the phone about what had just happened. In his own words, he said that he was even kinda laughing about it because it's just one of those situations that doesn't happen every day. He went to the emergency room and received a rabies vaccine, which he later said was more painful than the bear's bite. A spokesperson for the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, DNR, said that bears tend to be skittish. At the particular time of year the roach was bitten, they tend to be searching for food before they hibernate. Attacks are rare, and only 4 people have been hurt by bears in the state since 2013. 7. Robert Weaver. In 2013, a black bear fatally mauled 64-year-old Alaska resident Robert Weaver at a remote property in George Lake southeast of Fairbanks. Robert's wife threw things at the bear in an attempt to make it go away and tried using a gun, but it jammed. Meanwhile, the bear continued its reckless campaign of terror, leaving her with no choice but to seek refuge in a nearby cabin where she called the authorities for help. Alaska state troopers and officials from the Eielson Air Force Base were dispatched to the scene, where they found Weaver's mutilated remains and spotted the bear wandering in the area. After noticing that it was uncharacteristically comfortable near humans, a trooper killed it to prevent it from attacking anyone else. Pieces of Weaver's flesh were found inside the bear's stomach during a post-mortem examination. Kathy Harms, a biologist with the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, determined that the bear was an older male, which meant that he wasn't protecting any cubs when he killed Weaver. Unlike some bears who attack humans unprovoked, he had no apparent diseases and was not starving, leaving officials baffled about his motives. 6. Florida man versus black bear. Earlier this year, viral video footage showed the moment a man exited his home one evening in Daytona Beach, Florida, and came face to face with a large black bear. He initially thought the animal was a large dog and was trying to shield and protect his own dogs when he realized it was actually a bear. The man made loud noises in hopes of driving the creature away. He then rushed toward the bear and tried pushing it away as his barking dog scattered in the background. Thankfully, the bear did go away, leaving the man with non-life-threatening injuries. The encounter came shortly after a woman named Heidi was attacked by a mother bear while walking her dog in Volusia County. She was heading back into her house when she realized she had somehow angered the bear and tried to outrun it. But the bear caught up with the woman and then grabbed her by the shoulders and pinned her to the ground, leaving her with a concussion, scratches on her face, and injuries to her lower back that required stitches. Speaking with local station WESH, Heidi described the encounter as the worst experience of her life and said that she felt lucky to be alive. Another couple told reporters that the same bear had come at them shortly before the attack. The WFC euthanized the animal, leaving local residents wondering if there could have been another way to handle the problem. While nobody discounted the seriousness of seeing one of their neighbors get attacked and injured, some believe that the mother of 3 cubs could have simply been relocated and that she didn't need to die. 5. Vance Hopkins. When Vance Hopkins discovered a massive black bear beneath the porch of his South Lake Tahoe, Nevada home in 2015, he did the exact opposite of what most people would do. He went outside to investigate with his camera in hand and approached the bear, coming within feet of the gargantuan creature. Hopkins would later say that the bear looked stunned and nervous before lunging right at him not once, but twice. At that point, Hopkins evidently came to his senses and climbed the stairs leading up to his deck to get away from the bear. He then pounded on the wood above the animal's head to try scaring it away. The bear fled from beneath the porch, but before running back into the woods, it stopped in Hopkins' yard and went to the bathroom, perhaps as a way to get the last word in on his disagreement with the homeowner. There was initially some confusion regarding whether the offending creature was a brown or a black bear. It was a very large black bear, which was fortunate for Hopkins, since the species is far less likely than brown bears to attack humans. In most cases, when a black bear charges at a human, it's doing so as a warning, often giving the person an opportunity to get away and avoid physical harm. 4. LAUREL-ROSE von HOFFMANN-CURZI. Just before sunrise in early November of last year, a woman awoke in her cabin along North Lake Tahoe in California to find a bear rummaging through her freezer and tossing its contents all over the floor. LAUREL-ROSE von HOFFMANN-CURZI tried to rush back into her bedroom, but the bear heard her movement and attacked her, viciously swiping its paws at her face and body. It eventually left the home, leaving LAUREL-ROSE bloodied, beaten, and bruised. At the time, she was staying at the cabin after a recent round of chemotherapy for stage 4 cancer. Officials collected evidence from the homeowner's face, chest, and arms in hopes of running a DNA profile. They also set a trap near von HOFFMANN-CURZI's home, with plans to compare the DNA of any specimen they trapped to the victim's wounds. California Department of Fish and Wildlife Captain Patrick Foy told local station KTLA that if they caught the bear that attacked the woman, they would euthanize it. If they captured a bear that turned out not to be the offender, they would release it. Von HOFFMANN-CURZI had failed to deadbolt her front door that night and vowed to never make that mistake again. She also said that she thinks bears should be allowed to live in the wilderness, but that the authorities need to be careful about which bears they allow to exist in close proximity to human communities. 3. A surprise visitor. Sean Reddy was at home with 2 of his 4 kids in Fort McMurray in Alberta, Canada last year when a 600-pound, 272-kilogram black bear got into the family's garage. He took his older sons outside in anticipation of watching the bear wander off, when his other son came out and said that he kept hearing scratching noises inside the home. Reddy's older son went inside and came right back out, saying that there was a bear in the hallway. The giant creature had torn off a bedroom window screen and climbed inside. Armed with bear spray, the family waited as the bear wandered throughout the home and then barricaded it in another bedroom, hoping it would leave through the window. But the window was closed, so they opened the door and tried barricading the hallway, hoping the bear would go back into the room it originally entered and exit the same way it had gotten in. While they waited, the family heard the animal smashing a bowl of cereal onto the floor. Finally, they managed to guide the bear back into the correct room by blocking any paths elsewhere, and it left the house. Reddy told CBC Edmonton's Radioactive that he didn't feel threatened by the massive creature, which he described as docile. In his own words, he said that bears tended to be fat, lazy, and tired at that time of year, perhaps making the intruder less of a threat than it would have been if it were hungry. The bear continued on into other people's garages before finally leaving the neighborhood. While it's not uncommon to see bears in the area, home intrusions are extremely rare, according to Alberta Fish and Wildlife spokesperson Ina Lucia. She said that the offending creature most likely entered Reddy's home in search of food while eating as much as possible to prepare for winter. During this phase, known as hyperphagia, black bears eat and drink nearly non-stop, making it especially important for residents in homes with bear populations to secure their homes. It's a lesson that Sean Reddy certainly learned the hard way, reminding him to never leave his windows open again during that time of year, without keeping a close eye on his home and its surroundings. 2. Hank the Tank. Weighing in at around 500 pounds, 227 kilograms, Hank the Tank is roughly twice the size of an average black bear. Earlier this year, officials from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, CDFW, accused him of being responsible for more than 24 home break-ins around South Lake Tahoe in California. They claim to have received 152 reports about his disruptive behavior. Residents complained that Hank the Tank was ravaging through the gated community of Tahoe Keys, stealing leftover pizza and busting into people's homes through doors and windows. Ann Bryant, the executive director of the nonprofit wildlife rescue service Bear League, told the New York Times that the bear's access to human food is partially what made him so big. In her words, he didn't get fat like that eating berries and grubs. The home invasion started around the time when bears eat excessively in preparation for the long winter ahead. But residents were surprised when the intrusions carried on into the winter, suggesting that Hank the Tank chose not to go into hibernation due to his year-round access to food. Bears are nothing new to Lake Tahoe, but the region saw an uptick in invasive activity after many people who are unfamiliar with the creatures moved there to work remotely during the pandemic. They didn't know to seal their garbage in bear-proof containers and to be careful not to leave food lying around, leading to an increased number of unpleasant encounters. DNA tests ultimately proved that Hank the Tank was only responsible for some of the intrusions, and that at least 2 other bears had entered people's homes. It was a realization that spared Hank's life, as authorities decided against euthanizing him after learning that he wasn't as big of a culprit as he was made out to be. 1. Bobby the Black Bear. A beloved mama bear nicknamed Bobby had become a popular fixture in Newton, Connecticut, where locals became used to seeing her but admiring her from a safe distance. She even had a social media presence, where her fans could go for updates on any recent sightings. A policeman recently shot Bobby dead, orphaning her 2 cubs and sparking widespread outrage over what many suspect was an unlawful killing. In Connecticut, it's only legal to kill a bear in self-defense, and bear attacks are extremely rare, leading many to believe that Bobby's death was totally needless and preventable. Department of Energy and Environmental Protection spokesman Will Healy told the Hartford Courant that authorities are trying to figure out what to do with Bobby's cubs, who are being kept safe under the agency's watchful eye. He encouraged the public not to feed them, pointing out that the more a cub interacts with humans, the less chance it has of surviving in the wilderness, which is a far more ideal outcome than the animals having to be under human care for the rest of their lives. In the meantime, an investigation into the officer's decision to shoot Bobby is underway. Thanks for watching. Would you rather wake up to find a black bear rummaging through your kitchen, or take a 100-mile, 161-kilometer drive in a car that needs new brakes? Let us know in the comments below.